welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel. I go by Rachel Ray on the internet, and today I have my husband here, and we're going to do some paint by number.
Hooray!
Hooray! This is a painting called Manitowoc Lodge by Winnie's Picks, and I have a link down in the description if you're interested in purchasing. I am an affiliate, but I'm not being paid to make videos, so there's that. By popular demand, we are going to talk about conspiracy theories, since a lot of you are really into it, and I happen to have a husband who's an expert. So, yeah, take it away whenever you're ready.
I don't know. Yeah, I should have done some research, but I think I remember.
How long have you been interested in conspiracy theories?
I guess kind of forever, like, you know.
Mm-hmm. But would you say that since the lockdown, you've kind of like gotten really into it?
I don't think so. No.
Oh.
No. Not anymore. I'll tell you what it is though. Like, I'm less credulous. Like I used to be. Like, you know. Oh yeah, that could be possible. Like, you know,
mm-hmm.
like I don't see why an alien spaceship wouldn't have crashed, and you know they're building special technology and all this kind of thing. But when the lockdown came in, all of these people started getting into conspiracy theories, and then it just wasn't cool. And do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because you don't want to play with these people and be like, oh yeah, that could be true, because they wholeheartedly believe that. Do you know what I mean?
So what you're saying is
I don't want to encourage people, like, you know.
Okay.
Because.
Are you a true conspiracy theorist, or are you just?
I've always found it interesting, you know, and I find it interesting that there's always spin. You know what I mean?
Can you explain what that is for people who might not understand that word?
Like, if you're a political power, spin is how you. You know, sometimes they call it messaging and stuff like that. You know, and whether they're staying on message and that kind of thing. Like, what am I trying to say here? There's a lot of different. I mean, you can explain a lot of stuff away, and you can get a PR guy on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wish I could come up with a good example, like, you know.
Well, you mean like how approachable it is for people to like.
No. Like, one time I saw a chocolate bar, you know, and it said now with 30% less calories. But what they had done was remove 30% of the chocolate.
I remember you telling me.
Yeah, that's spin. Do you know what I mean? It's
okay,
like we've done this for your benefit.
It's misleading, but not false.
It's not false, but it's spin. You know what I mean?
Excuse me.
So, like, where something crosses over from just being spin, or I wouldn't have phrased it that way, but I guess you could see it that way. You know, where it crosses over is that people have been conspiring against you in secret, you know?
Okay.
And I guess my view of it has always been, are there massive conspiracies, you know? Yeah, there are, you know? But you know what? It's not the Freemasons. It's some guy in a bank you've never even heard of. Do you know what I mean? Or the person at the insurance company cartel. That's where the conspiracies are. And they don't want world domination. They want your money.
Right.
You know? So to come up with all these crazy because these conspiracies are happening every day, and they're happening in boardrooms, and you know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, for instance, you know the light bulb thing?
No.
Like, I mean, you can go and look into this. This is an actual conspiracy that happened. Like, back when they invented light bulbs, you know, now they were using different types of metal and everything like that, you know, for the elements. But I guess, like, have you ever heard of that light bulb that's in California that's been burning since like 1904 or something like that?
I think so.
Yeah. The average lifespan of a light bulb, back when Edison was making them and all this kind of stuff, you know, the average lifespan was thousands of hours, like 5,000-10,000 hours, you know.
Yeah.
So they got together in Switzerland, all these light bulb manufacturers, and agreed that the average light bulb lifespan would be 2,000, and that's what they would work with. Because you want to sell. You want to sell people. You want to sell people light bulbs, so you need those light bulbs to break. And this is an actual thing that happened at the beginning of the 20th century. Like it got found out. There was memos from the meetings and everything like that.
Yeah.
You know, like that's an actual thing that happened. But no, I guess it's, you know, some guy trying to do you out of light bulb money.
Yeah.
Isn't really as interesting as the government has anti-gravity stuff and they're traveling through time and space, you know?
That's, well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
And
definitely not as fun.
yeah, so... but anyway, I just, you know, and there's another thing as well, is that, like, conspiracy theories are like, they're like, it's like an exercise in constructing a story with a group of people, you know?
And, like, the more interesting the story, the more engaging, like, the more people will start to believe it. And...
Yeah, well...
Is it a culty thing?
Some of them are. Yeah, I mean, that QAnon stuff is basically a kind of... It's a cult, you know? Mm. But that's one of the serious ones, like, you know, the really, I mean, this is probably too heavy for this now, but like the really serious conspiracy theories dehumanize people. And whenever you go to dehumanize someone, you're in a real dangerous space there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because people are people, you know, and you gotta, I mean, you're taking a step closer to not understanding or not empathizing with those people, and that's a problem, like.
Right.
So, what was I gonna say?
Should we?
So that I guess that's where I'm coming from, like, you know.
Yeah. That's your background.
Yeah, that's my background.
So we have a real expert.
A real expert, yeah.
Now there was a specific one that we were talking about last time. That sounds a lot like the name of this painting.
Oh, that's the Monotac one, yeah. But I've never really looked into that because...
Oh, really? Okay.
Because, like I was saying the last time, I looked into it a little bit afterwards, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And because what it is there was this... I'm not even doing any painting.
It's okay. You're here to talk. That's why you have that side of the painting.
Yeah, there was this thing called the Philadelphia experiment, you know? Mm-hmm. And the idea was that in 1943, the American government was messing around with stuff, and they made this, the USS Eldridge. They made the USS... Oh, that's a ship? Yeah, it's a ship, yeah, that was harbored in, or docked in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And they made that disappear or travel to another dimension or travel through time and space, you know?
Sorry, what year is this again?
This is in 1943.
Okay.
What happened was that sometime in the 60s, this guy wrote a book about UFOs, you know?
Okay.
And then he was contacted by this fella. I don't remember the guy's name now. Carl Allen was the guy's name. But he went by Carlos something or other. But anyway, he was contacted by that guy, and the guy was like, "Oh, UFOs, eh? What about that time I was in Philadelphia in the Navy? and the boat I was on, the one right beside it, the USS Eldridge, just disappeared like that, you know?"
Okay.
And then, I don't know. So this is where it gets, like, so then that guy who wrote the book was like, "Oh yeah? Why don't you tell me more about it?" So he started telling him more, and then it happened. And that's how this conspiracy theory of the Philadelphia experiment started, like,
okay,
with this guy in the 60s. I think it was the 60s anyway. This guy in the 60s saying, "I was there, man." So your man went, the guy that had written the book and who this guy Carl Allen had contacted, started trying to get in contact with anybody that had been on either of those ships at that time.
What did he see?
He said that he saw the boat disappear and then reappear, but that people on board the boat had been like phased in and out of reality, and some of them were like with the hull bisecting them, or they were turned inside out. It was pretty gruesome. Like,
whoa.
I believe that's what happened. I think. But anyway, so he couldn't find anyone, and then the guy was like going, "Are you crazy? No wonder you can't find anyone. I told you the ship disappeared and they all came back melted, you know?" So, and I think it went on like that for a while, and then I think what convinced, I'm not really clear on it because, like I said, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I think the guy that wrote the book was talking to this guy and kind of going, this is, I mean, who knows what's going on here. And then the Navy, the Office of Intelligence in the Navy or whatever, contacted him. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as they contacted him, he was like, ooh, maybe there is something here or whatever. So then books were written, movies were made.
What movies?
Literally a movie in the 80s called The Philadelphia Experiment, based on the book that this guy had written.
Okay.
So then what happens is, I can't really recall, but some guys start coming out of the woodwork.
Hollywood was like, this is some serious material.
Well, this is the other thing as well, is that like a lot of these things will focus on stuff that's in popular culture, you know? Mm-hmm. Like the aliens used to be really concerned about nuclear weapons, but they're not concerned about nuclear weapons now. Do you know what I mean? And I'm going to talk about this Bentwaters and I'll explain the nuclear weapons thing then, I think.
Okay.
But so then people started coming out of the woodwork. They were like, "Oh, don't you see? I was on that ship," you know, and they're like, "But you're in your 40s."
There's
you know,
way.
exactly. I've been traveling through time and space.
Oh, right.
Yeah. That all.
Sure.
And that all starts coming into it. I believe as well at one stage, I think what had happened was that the Navy had gotten a copy of your man's UFO book posted to them, and it had been heavily annotated, you know?
Okay.
And then I think that's why the Navy contacted your man. There was like three different color of highlighter used in annotating it. Mm-hmm. But all of those three colors turned out to just be Carl. So funny. But anyway, and the reason they found him out is because his handwriting looked exactly the same regardless of who he was claiming to be.
Wow.
The whole thing is so funny. But anyway, once you released the movie and these guys started coming out of the woodworks, then like people in the local area, they were like, "Oh, I grew up there during the 70s. Yeah, I remember, you know, I was kidnapped and, you know, they like made me a psychic soldier." You know, do you ever see that movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats?
It sounds familiar. Is there a book?
There is a book, yeah, called The Men Who Stare at Goats, yeah. And it's just basically all the wacky things that the military have done, you know, the US military and stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so they claim that the guys were making them remote viewers. I think they might have even claimed that they were trying to get them to, you know, like where they would sit in a chair or in like one of those isolation.
And do like ESP and stuff? Like,
yeah,
where they'd lift out of their bodies,
yes,
psychically. And
yeah, exactly.
travel.
Yeah. Your soul is traveling across time and space, like, so then you can be inside in a bunker looking at the Ruskies' plans or whatever. You know what I mean? I
actually really loved an old book. It was like a book for teenagers, and it was about this girl who got really interested in ESP and like. Now, of course, this is like a total fiction story or whatever.
Yeah.
But apparently she had a twin sister that she didn't know about.
Yeah.
And so she lifted out of her body and like got trapped, and her sister invaded her body somehow. I don't know. It was crazy. I'll try to remember the name of the book and link it if I can.
But Freaky Friday stuff.
I read that book like 3 times. I really loved it. Anyway, sorry, continue.
What was I saying?
The Philadelphia experiment.
Oh yeah. So, so that goes on, and then like a lot of the like I was saying the last time, a lot of like Stranger Things is based on this Montauk thing, you know. But I don't really.
But we could talk about it some other time. I don't want to confuse people.
No, I didn't realize we'd be talking about it, and I would have gone and really looked into it and made notes and stuff like that.
Oh, it's okay.
But I guess the last time what I wanted to talk about, because it's something that happened in Britain, and I'd be more familiar without having to look into it. Like, is this RAF Bentwaters thing?
RAF Bentwater.
Yeah, like, you know, the past participle of bent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Bentwaters, and then there's another one in the same forest. There's a forest there called Rendlesham. And yeah, it's an RAF base, but it's
what's the Royal Air Force?
Yeah, it's the Royal Air Force, yeah. But it's actually I don't know if it is now, but at that time it was actually an American base. Because like America has loads of bases that aren't inside America, you know?
Right.
I believe America has somewhere in the region of 300 bases in other countries, you know? I think the next leading country that has...
I think there's one in almost every country except South Korea. At least one.
There's loads of them in South Korea.
Or not South Korea, sorry, North Korea.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads. They have so many bases in like all over the Middle East and down the thing. Like, I think the next, I believe I read years ago, like that the Russia also has bases outside of their own country, and they're the next leader, and they have 16.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Yeah, it's a big difference. I guess the other thing to think about as well is that, like, of the top 10 countries that spend, you know, for military spending, like if you take all of those, this was true a few years ago anyway, and I can't imagine it's changed, but if you take all of those, American spending equals all of the other 9 countries in the top 10 put together, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess, I mean, like, a lot of what I believe this UFO report is about is getting more money for this military industrial complex.
Okay.
You know?
But, okay, is there any more background that we need to know before you start telling us the story?
Oh, about Bentwaters, yeah. So it was kind of like, this happened in 1980. So it's, you know, the Cold War is heating up, you know. Bentwaters is one of a couple of different bases that the Americans are housed at in Britain.
Okay.
They have nuclear weapons there.
Okay.
So that's the crack. Yeah, so sometime around about Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's, I think it was like maybe the 28th of December or something like this, in kind of like the early hours in the morning, they start to see like lights in the forest or something. Oh no, they see something like streak across the sky and go into the forest, you know.
Ooh. And
then they have a look and they can see lights or something, but either way, this here base has nuclear weapons, so, you know, they put together a unit of like these military police, you know, 3 of them, and they send them out into the forest to investigate. The guys go out, and I think they said that like they go out, they drive out through the east gate, I think it is. They drive out through the east gate, they drive into the forest, and then in between the trees they can see this green light, you know, and it's moving, and then
no music or sound or anything.
No music, no sound,
not
nothing.
Like a rave or something.
No, nothing like that. But they say that they can see this light, and it seems to be kind of hovering and moving between the trees and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So they go to investigate, and they said that they saw a craft, you know, I think it was about 20 or 30 feet across. It had the classic tripod legs and everything like this. There was dry ice type smoke coming out of it, unearthly green lights and that sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And God, I can't remember what happens next now.
And all three of them saw it?
It's hard to get a feeling on it, but yeah, they reported that they had seen something.
Okay.
You know, so that's the crack. And then what else had happened there? Gosh, I really should look into these before I start talking about them.
I thought you had.
No, I didn't realize we were going to talk about it, so I didn't really. But I'm trying to get it off the top of my head from years ago. Like, yeah. So I guess they go back. The craft takes off. They go back to the base. Then, they kind of report. Oh yeah, there's literally radio recordings of them as well. This is why it's such a kind of like a compelling one. There's like radio recordings of them radioing back to base, you know, kind of going, yeah, we see these green lights over in the thing, like it's maybe 200 yards away behind some trees. We're going to investigate and all this. So they come back anyway and they say, yeah, there's something out there, like, you know, it could be, I mean, this is the height of the Cold War, so who do you think it is?
Russia?
It's the Ruskies, yeah, it could be them, could be, well, it's probably them, isn't it, you know? So that's the crack. So then, meanwhile, they're holding the nuclear missiles in this bunker, you know? And then there's a report of there's a report of a green light flying over and hovering over where the weapons are, where these nuclear weapons are, and the guys outside, the MPs outside, getting really freaked out, as you would do, you know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of buzzing over and back and up and down and spinning around above the thing, you know? And then in some versions of the story, it beams a kind of a tractor beam into where the nuclear weapons are, you know?
Whoa.
And I think I only read this in one place when I was reading on it, but this is a common thing for stories about UFOs and military bases back in the 80s. Is that they'll, you know, and then the nukes, they were all disarmed, you know. There's always that thing. Yeah, again, because like that's the concern in the culture, you know what I mean? I mean, we still have all those nuclear weapons, but we're just not as concerned about it anymore, you know what I mean? We don't have doomsday clocks and stuff like that, but I mean, they're still out there.
Well, we do, but
no one really, you know,
it's not like as eminent as it was in the past.
Isn't it? I mean,
sorta, but like not really. It's almost like stalled or something.
I think it's just,
or maybe we're just jaded.
You get jaded. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, all these things still, you know, you just get jaded.
Because it still exists, but we've been in a constant state of almost, well, definitely war, but also just like threat from outside for like, well, since 2001, really.
Oh, yeah.
For the U.S. anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't think that many Americans like really think about it because, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
not a nuclear war, but like a, I don't know, terrorist sort of war, which is different.
Yeah.
If it was nuclear, then, you know, I think people would be on higher alert. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway. Tangent.
So the three military police come back and they say there's something in the forest, you know. There's something in the forest. It could be the Russians. So then the guy's over, and like I said, I don't know about the nuclear weapons thing because, as I recall, I only read that in one place. So then they're phoning in and stuff, but it makes it a better story, really, you know. It does. What happens? Oh yeah, so they come back. They send out another group of soldiers to investigate, like another group of MPs and stuff like that, along with some ordinary soldier guys. I don't know the terminology, but they send those guys out and they come back and they're like, there's nothing that we can see, but there are some strange lights in the sky. Yeah. Where are they? Well, they're just over the other side of the forest, you know, and all this, and yeah.
So then they go to check that out, and
They're in a they're in a jeep. They're phoning. There's also like recordings of them talking to the RAF guys, and they're like going, you know, hey, can you guys pick up anything on radar? And then the RAF guys are going, no, where is it? And they're like going, oh, it's looks like it's X amount away from us, and it's over this way or whatever. And they're like going, no, we can't see anything. And then they're like going, well, it looks like it's too low for radar anyway. And there's all these discussions, and you know, that's the crack. So this all gets what's it called, like, this all gets filed away. Basically, one of the guys that was on, and I don't remember any of the, I only remember one name in this story, and I'll tell you why in a second. There's the not the guy that's in charge of the base, but the guy above him, or sorry, not the guy that's in charge of the base, but the guy that's in charge of the military police unit, basically calls the three guys that were out into his office, and he's going, hey guys, how's it going? Come here. This is all official secret stuff. We'll be doing an investigation, so don't talk about this ever to anybody for any reason, you know? So they went, okay, that's cool. So then he left, and that was the crack, you know. I remember one of the guys, seeing an interview with one of the guys, and he said like that, well, he said like, I had joined the Air Force a couple of years beforehand, you know, I had moved up a rank or two or whatever it was, and he said like, and I wanted to make this my career, and I just thought, when the guy told me never to talk about it again, I thought, oh, what a relief, because you know, now I've been ordered not to talk about it, because he said like, if you were in the Air Force and you were going around telling people, no, you don't get it, I saw a thing in the forest, you know, he said like, that's the end of your career, like, you know. So he said he was kind of relieved about it and all that. Then I can't remember. Yeah, so what happens next anyway is quite literally nothing happens for ages,
right?
And then about 2 weeks after that, this guy Charles Holt, I think it's Charles Holt or Charles Holt maybe, but he's in the kind of UFO conspiracy theory thing, like he's one of these guys that produced a document, you know.
Okay.
So what happened was that 2 weeks after that, he's the commander of the base. 2 weeks after that, he wrote a memo to the RAF, because it's RAF property, you know, going, yeah, about that thing, you know, nothing really happened. We saw some lights, maybe we did, maybe we didn't. We couldn't really do anything, nothing happened anyway, everything's cool. I hope this puts it to bed, you know, that kind of way.
Great.
Because it turns out as well then that I think it was actually years later in like the 90s, maybe the early 90s, story, like news about this came out, that there was some incident in 1980. Yeah, so it got out to the papers, like, and you know, newspapers love stories like this as well, you know.
Yeah.
Got everything, like. So yeah, they started looking into it, and then that's where the memo from Charles Holt shows up, you know.
Yeah.
And like, nothing is more red rag to a bull than a memo that says nothing happened. I wouldn't worry about it. But I'll tell you what, nothing happened. Because, I mean, why are you writing a memo saying nothing happened? Do you know? So,
side note, it's not the color red that drives the bulls mad.
It's not the red, no. It's the
shaking.
It's the shaking of the memo, yeah.
Shaking of the memo.
But that kind of catapults it then, and I think, you know, again, like, Charles Holt is important because, you know, in conspiracy things, because he's the guy that wrote the memo. Okay. Then they started trying to get information from the DOD in Britain, or the MOD, sorry,
Okay.
and which is the Ministry of Defense. It's the DOD in the States, right?
Yes.
So they try to get information off of both of them, as a matter of fact, and the Americans are like, no, and the British are like, no, I don't think so. And then the Freedom of Information Acts start coming in, and they have to have a reason to deny you documentation from the government and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So in Britain, some journalist had seen the file from the MOD on Bentwaters, on the Bentwaters incident, and it was literally like a brick, it was inches thick.
For something that didn't even happen?
That's what they're thinking,
Huh. Okay.
So they start going crazy with freedom of information, rewording it, just keep trying to get a hold of these documentation,
Yeah.
And then eventually they get a hold of the documentation, and you know what the file is filled with? It's filled with letters from people that read the newspaper articles and wrote to the department.
Way.
Yeah, and their replies.
Oh my god.
It also has a lot of the background details of, like, this is 1980s, so there's no email, so it would be
right.
Dear Commander Holt, we have heard that there was an incident occurred at, could you please elucidate this or whatever?
Elucidate.
I presume that's the kind of words the RAF would use,
in
isn't
the
it?
80s?
Yeah, in the 80s, like.
Okay.
Well, what would you say? Like,
I don't know.
in the 80s, like, I pity the fool. That I don't know any other 80s stuff, but so that's the file, and the file doesn't explain much. And then I think sometime in the early noughties, they went to some journalist again. This is about 10 or 15 years after it's been more popular,
Mm-hmm.
In the early noughties, some journalist goes to speak with the people again that are involved in it,
Mm-hmm.
and Holt goes, oh, you want to talk to me about Bentwaters? Well, I'm going to do an affidavit. So he does an affidavit, and it says, not only did it happen, but I believe it was extraterrestrials. Also, I believe that the true information has been covered up, and I myself was somewhat complicit in that for many years. Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
And all this, and he was basically like,
Snake.
it happened, it's real, the army's done me bad, they covered it all up, blah blah blah, and all this. And this is the guy that commanded the actual base, and then then they go to talk to the guys that are involved in that were part of the 3-member team that went to look in the forest first.
Mm-hmm.
So they go and talk to those guys, and one of those guys says, I can't remember the guys' names.
Was he like, no, I'm sworn to secrecy, I'm not doing this?
The two of the people that were on that, I think one of them is called Kasabic or something like that. The other guy is maybe Clark or something. But anyway, two of the guys that were part of that 3-man team that day, they said, no, I mean, it's in the report. We saw something, but I don't really think it was anything. I don't think it was aliens, I think it was probably that lighthouse that's not very far away at all and is below radar level and would explain why the light was blinking on and off. And the other guy wrote something saying, yeah, I mean, it's all in the reports. It wasn't that big a deal to me. I didn't think it was, you know what I mean? Something weird happened in the woods and we went and looked at it or whatever. And I mean, I didn't see any spaceship or anything, I don't know where the spaceship stuff is coming from. And then the third guy, you know what he said? Oh, it gets even worse than that. He said that he could remember that the trees were at the top of this rise,
Mm-hmm.
and he started heading up towards the rise. And
on his own, of course.
No, with his things. I mean, Rachel, have you ever been in a military police unit? You don't go anywhere on your own. You need backup, like.
Oh, right.
So the three of them, they're walking up to the top of the hill,
mm-hmm.
and then he noticed that his colleagues on either side of him, he couldn't see them in his peripheral vision, and he stopped and turned around. And Rachel, they were frozen.
Frozen?
And he thought, oh, because that unit was well known for pranking, and he thought, oh, they're playing a prank on me. And he goes down and he, like, you know, when you wave your hand in front of their face and stuff.
Yeah.
He did all of the tests.
Oh, right.
They were frozen in time and space by the aliens. And then I can't remember. He's got a wacky story. Then maybe an alien came out and shook his hands and all this kind of stuff.
Huh.
Yeah.
He's been thinking about that for a long time.
It's so, yeah, you know.
Or was he paid off by Holt?
A lot of people involved.
It's a conspiracy within the conspiracy.
Yeah, that whole. But I mean, like, I don't know. My own feeling is just because the other two guys were like, "What are you talking about, Steve?" And he's like, "You guys don't understand. You were frozen in time and space." I think that this has everything. You know, it's well documented. It was definitely the lighthouse. Mm-hmm. I would think it was definitely the lighthouse. But then I guess what's interesting about this is the way that these things grow, you know, as we say in Ireland, like heads and tails. You know what I mean? Like they're putting heads on tails, you know?
Okay.
Like, it's, you know, it starts off as, because every time you go to remember something, you know, that's not a memory. That's not happening now. That's in your head.
Right. It's like.
Yeah. So if you make tiny incremental alterations to the memory,
yeah,
which everybody does. Everybody does that. Like there's loads of stories that I have from when I was a kid that, I mean, I don't really remember them, but I remember the remembering of them. You know. And I'm pretty sure that's not a real dragon in that one there. You know, that kind of way, like.
Yeah.
So, but then also, it gives. I mean, it gives people. There's a lot of people that get purpose from these things. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Well, people want to be recognized, or.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to. I don't know. Maybe they want to be famous, or they want to be right.
Yeah, it's, you know, like at the core of a conspiracy theory is always the theorist, and the like, you know, it's almost like it gives their life more meaning. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because like they're not just, you know, Joe Blogs who just, you know, works his job and has a quiet life, like, you know what I mean? They're people that they're in on this great secret, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot more romantic.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like heroic or something.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, what were you going to say about the aliens and the modern... Can we wrap it up with that?
The conspiracy theory, well, alien narratives, like, are about us. Because any story you tell is always about you, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's why, like, if you look into a lot of stuff from the 70s or from the 80s, really, there's a lot of stuff about this, like, and then the aliens, you know, like I said, turned off the missiles in the nuclear bunker, or, you know, there's a lot of Cold War existentialism that gets baked into it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know what's getting baked into it now in such a consistent way, like, you know, because if you look at the 90s and the early noughties and stuff, like, what was happening there was, you know, it was the rise of the abduction story, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, abduction stories weren't anything new, you know? Mm-hmm. But then suddenly they had seeped into popular culture, you know?
Yeah, it's like Signs and the rest.
Contact, Communion, all of these different movies, you know? And I don't know what's the
one with the piano.
What's the one with the piano?
the massive piano where they have to play the song.
Oh, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like there's
It's all kind of.
So if you try and break down the aliens in popular culture now, what are they doing now? Do they want to be our friends?
No, it's like
They don't.
It's like Alien versus AI or something.
Yeah.
Like, who's gonna find us first? Are we gonna create the next god, or are we gonna find out that by creating artificial intelligence that surpasses the human mind, or are we going to be found by this alien species that's going to take us over? Maybe we're looking for a bigger bad than ourselves in order to like bring us together or something.
Yeah.
That got deep really quick.
Well, can you give me an example of some movies and stuff like that?
What are some alien movies that have come out recently?
I don't even know. I don't know.
Like the there's the one with what is it called? And it's like a fungus or something, and what was the name of that movie? Do you remember we watched it and we were like, what's happening? Like they're walking through a forest and there's these mushrooms and stuff, and then it takes over.
Annihilation.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's like a bioweapon. Alien species. Then there's A Quiet Place. I don't know if that counts as aliens though.
Yeah.
It's not a traditional alien anymore. It's like
it's
you know,
I don't know.
It's like M. Night Shyamalan's
Signs.
No, the one with the trees.
Oh yeah,
that sort of thing.
Yeah. Because in Signs they were very much a traditional alien.
Kinda.
But they were traditional alien right down to the solution to them was water.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to invade. I mean, this planet is 70% water, mate.
Jeez. Yeah.
Go home.
Everybody turn on your sprinklers. No, but I mean that was the what? That was like 2000, wasn't it? So we were still in like 90s mode back then.
Yeah.
But like oh gosh, what are some newer
It's true.
ones?
They're not as prevalent anymore, like.
They're not, but like they're different.
Yeah.
You know, they're well, now we have like the MCU, you know, like our aliens are superheroes or something.
Yeah.
But like the ones that don't come from this planet are the ones that are unliked.
What's the name
They're
of
the bad.
that Denis Villeneuve movie with the it's like Contact, but you know where they got the aliens, but the aliens they speak in ink blots or something.
Oh my gosh, that's an amazing movie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to bring up my internet.
Maybe it's moving towards more like they're completely incomprehensible, like, you know.
2010s alien movies.
We're gonna get to the bottom of this.
There is like excuse me, there's Extinction. Let's see what else we got. I don't know if that's...
I feel like we've hit, because like look, it's one of those movies like like half of these movies are based on video games as well. I feel like we've hit a wall creatively. I feel like there's no one taking chances anymore.
Alright, hold on 1 second. Let me just see if I can... We're just gonna look for alien movies. Ooh, Brad Pitt. Ad Astra.
Oh yeah.
Was that the one?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember that one.
Is that the
one with the robot? No.
No, I haven't seen it, but it's like...
Oh, Arrival.
Arrival, that's the one.
That's the name of it, yeah. That's the one with the ink blots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like it's moved.
It's the same guy that directed the new Blade Runner movie as well, that directed Arrival.
Yeah?
Yeah. Good filmmaker.
Yeah, the rest are like superhero movies.
Or like
District 9.
Like District 9, yeah.
That's a good one.
That's an interesting one, yeah.
That one though was more an expose on humans and how they react to that. Again, I think it's like the human condition more than the alien.
Yeah, I mean, it's always about us, isn't it?
Yeah.
More or less, like, but...
Well, it wasn't, though. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, in a way it is, but like, okay, let's keep going back to the one that I keep talking about, which is Signs. I mean, it was very much focused on being completely scared out of your wits by this creature, the terror and all that, the paranoia. But in the end, it was all about the alien. Whereas, like, in a lot of these movies, it's about the reactions of the people, and the aliens are barely in the movie. The Inkblot ones were barely in the movie.
Yeah.
It was all about how those characters were dealing with it. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, no, there seems to be a thing where there's a certain kind of incomprehensibility about it or something, you know? You know, like where it's, oh wow, it looks really cool in the photo.
You can see my editing software. Yeah, it's a little bit, unfortunately, it's a little bit fuzzy, but I don't know what we can do about that because I've got the lights on and it's not helping. But it is paint by number, so it is a little bit fuzzy anyway. But yeah, so I don't know. Let us know what you think. What do you think the difference is between like modern day alien movies and the ones that maybe we grew up with? And let us know in the comments, because we love reading comments, and I've been showing James the comments in the last.
It's true, yeah.
Do you have anything that you'd like to say to the wonderful people who are actually watching?
I don't know. I mean, thanks for, you know, tuning in and listening to me misremember a story that I think.
It's about the commentary.
It's about the commentary.
If you want the like factual information, you're gonna have to Google it. Because
yeah, I mean,
we are not a reliable source of information. We're just flapping gums here.
I would definitely recommend looking into Bentwaters. It's a lot of fun. Like, but
is
just
that not the one? But okay, sorry, this is way too late to be asking this question. But isn't that the one where they found like a rotating diamond shape, or was that a different one?
I think that might be involved in this as well. That
that was the memory or something.
Because there's a number of different, if I recall, there's a number of different versions of the thing that they saw in the wood, and I think one of them might have been a lozenge that was thing, but
I don't remember a lozenge.
A kind of a lozenge shape, or another one was that it had a big kind of solid metal thing. Oh my goodness, I just remembered when they went and asked, I forgot about this.
Okay, don't hit the table because you're gonna.
Okay, sorry. When they went and asked the three MP guys, the three military police guys, one of them suddenly started going, oh yeah, and when my friends were frozen in time and space and I was in there, yeah, you know, I went all around the ship and there was this weird like hieroglyphic writing on it. And
yes, that's
yeah. And he was like, and then he said something along the lines of, you know, if you
he drew them.
He drew the glyphs and everything. Yeah. Oh my god, I'm just remembering now. And he had it's such a great out, isn't it? It's like, well, your two colleagues said they didn't see anything. Well, they were frozen in time and space.
Right.
I wouldn't expect them to see anything. There's a part in the Philadelphia experiment. There's a part in the Philadelphia experiment story as well where he meets the first time, or after he meets your man Carl. That's basically saying he witnessed all of this. Mm-hmm. He asks Carl, oh well, how do you know? You know, Carl, and Carl goes, well, the people that survived, that weren't fused with the ship or whatever, those people have had a terrible time falling in and out of the time-space continuum. And he goes, well, how do you know this? And he said, well, one time, he said, I met this guy I used to be in the Navy with, and we went for a beer, and we were sitting at the bar drinking a beer, and he winks right out of existence, you know? And then he met him a while later or whatever, and the guy said that he just woke up, he just like basically winked into existence in the middle of the street and 3 weeks had passed or some such, you know?
Course,
yeah. So he said that, and then the guy was like, this is really starting to get a bit crazy, the writer that he was talking to about. And this is a writer who wrote a book called The Case for UFOs. So like, trust me, this guy's credulous enough. So he he basically he told the story to someone, or he published the story, you know, and then basically he started getting letters from people. I was that guy. I was the Navy guy that disappeared in the bar that night. And like, I guarantee you, some of those guys truly believed that they were the Navy guy that fell through time and space, you know? And maybe they were.
They definitely thought they were.
Yeah.
Well.
Anyway, that's it.
Coming full circle. Thank you so much for joining us today while we did some more paint by number. We hope to see you again in another few weeks or so, if you'll maybe want to do this again.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you liked what we did, subscribe for more. And I will see you all soon in my next video. Take care, everyone.
Bye everybody. Bye.